Icabod and Me. Starring Robert Sterling, George Chandler, and Christine White.
I don't care what you say, Icabod. I think it's a real solid idea. Good for the paper. It's good for the town, too.
Well, I don't know, Mr. Major. If I can get it on the agenda, we might discuss it at the next meeting of the school board.
Oh, boy. This is the meetingest town I've ever seen in my life. I bet if a guy had a girl out here in the moonlight, he'd have to call a meeting to decide whether or not he could kiss her.
No. In a case like that, a fella could decide for himself.
Oh, good.
Of course, later on, might want to hold a meeting to decide whether he did the right thing.
Well, I still think it's a good idea.
You're not coming out against parallel parking again, are you?
No, Abby, I lost that fight once. But I know this is a good idea because your father's against it.
Oh. Well, what are you for that he's against?
The high school has a course in journalism, right? I want them to pick their best student and let me give him a job one afternoon a week at the Bulletin. That way the boy can get his feet wet and learn a little bit about practical journalism.
Now, Father, what's wrong with that idea?
Oh, I'm not worried about it personally. Just think the rest of the folks up here will be against it.
Why would they be against it?
Because it's never been done before.
Listen, tell me, how did they ever put electricity into this town?
It took some doing, Mr. Major.
Didn't you tell me when the kids graduate from high school, they leave Phipsborough and go to the big city for jobs?
Yeah.
Well, we could use this as an example. If other businessmen took a kid and trained him, they'd find out their job opportunities right here in their own hometown.
Well, I guess I could take the bit in my teeth and give you the go-ahead.
Good.
Mr. Major?
In here.
Oh. Afternoon, Mr. Major. Just dropped by to see if you got your journalism students yet.
Dr. Miss Edwards over at the high school. She said she had 3 or 4 good students. So I told her to pick out the best one, wrap them up, and ship them over here this afternoon.
What you planning on paying the youngster for working here one afternoon a week?
Well, I think a chance to see a newspaper in action and ideas come to life is reward in itself.
Fish cannery pays $1.80 an hour.
Fine, fine. Now, if Horace Greeley and William Randolph Hearst had preferred fish to printer's ink, we wouldn't be reading Little Orphan Annie today. Excuse me. That must be good old Cousin Martin phoning in his weekend ad.
Go right ahead. I'll just sit out here and rest my brain by reading your editorial.
What a flaky-looking place.
Well, he probably won't keep me long the first day. You'll be a sweet dear and wait for me, won't you, Gary?
I might, and I might not. I always feel kind of creepy hanging around downtown when I'm all dressed up.
Hey, honey.
Maybe I'll go over to the drive-in and annoy the customers gunning my twin pipes.
All right, but don't be gone too long. I'll feel just terrible if you're not here when I come on.
Yeah.
Do I look all right?
Crazy.
Well, afternoon.
Hello. I'm Lisa Halliday from Miss Edwards' journalism class.
Oh, Mr. Major, be right out. Sit down, Miss Halliday.
Thank you.
Got your sights set on being a newspaper woman, huh?
I don't know, really.
Well, you must have had a reason for taking the course.
My boyfriend Gary was taking it.
I see. Nice to meet somebody who's so dedicated.
Hey, Icabod, about that... Well, something I can do for you, young lady?
This is Lisa Halliday from Miss Edwards' class.
A girl?
Definitely.
Well, how do you do, Lisa?
This is Mr. Major.
How do you do?
Somehow I was expecting a boy.
I certainly hope I'm not a disappointment to you.
Oh, I didn't mean it like that. After all, you can't help it if you're a girl.
Miss Halliday was telling me she's got quite an interest in journalism.
Oh, fine, fine. Well, I don't know how much journalism I'll be able to teach you one afternoon a week, Lisa, but I just hope you don't find the routine around here dull.
Dull? Oh, no. Well, I've always just been fascinated by journalism. That's why I took the course. You know, I think it's the most exciting and stimulating profession a woman can prepare for. I'm going to make it my life's work.
Hey, did you hear that, Icabod? Who says this younger generation doesn't know where they're going?
Hey, appears to me like it's the older generation that's a little in the dark. Well, I gotta get over to the jail. Sheriff arrested one of them hunters from New York yesterday. Seems he took a pot shot at the iron deer on Shiva's lawn.
Now, don't tell me you have an ordinance against shooting iron deer.
Don't need no fancy ordinance. We're just charging the man with being crocked. See you, Mr. Major. Afternoon, Miss Halliday.
So long.
Oh, bye.
Let's go to my office, shall we?
Isn't this quaint?
Well, that's a nice, polite way of saying it's a mess. Lisa, so we don't waste any time, suppose you tell me what you've covered in journalism class. I mean, briefly.
Oh, well, the teacher thought it might be a good idea for you to read an article I wrote. It was a class project.
I think that's an excellent idea.
It's about our high school election. We were supposed to be reporters.
You must have more candidates than they do in California.
Well, Miss Edwards said to be sure and include all the facts.
So far, I don't see the candidates' names.
Oh, I know. I didn't want to give away the whole story till the end.
Lesson number 1. Did it ever occur to you that somebody might just not read it to the end?
Oh, well, the teacher has to give us a grade.
True. True. Well, suppose I just look through this then, and maybe I can give you some ideas. I hope you don't object to criticism.
Oh, no, of course not. I suppose you have somebody read through your work, too. Like your wife.
Oh, I don't have a wife.
Oh. Your fiancé, then?
I don't have a fiancé either. Miss Halliday, you don't have to be quite that attentive. Unnecessary. You've already said this. Recidivistic. Now, where did you get that word?
Out of the dictionary.
Lisa, take my word for it. If you want to be a good reporter, stay away from the dictionary.
I hope it's not all bad.
No, it shows a great deal of promise. You have a very nice way with words, no question about it.
Oh, but I can see how much more I have to learn, Mr. Major. Why, it may just take us weeks and weeks.
No, I'll have you headed for the New York Times before that. What in the world is that?
That's just my boyfriend, Gary.
Sounds like his voice is changing.
Well, he really isn't my boyfriend. He just sort of hangs around. But he's such a clod, I wouldn't want to hurt his feelings.
Lisa, where are you? Come on, Lisa, let's blast out of here.
Gary, dear, I'm not ready yet.
Look, I can't circle the block anymore. The fuzz was eyeballing my heap.
The fuzz is eyeballing your heap?
I believe he means the police are looking at his car. This is Gary Tucker, Mr. Major.
Hi.
Hi. Indian country, huh?
What?
Oh, nothing. Well, Lisa, I think we've covered enough for today.
Come on, honey, let's split.
If you don't want to wait for me, I can take the bus.
What's the matter? How come all of a sudden the deep freeze?
Gary, you're impossible.
Who, me?
Lisa, why don't we make it the same time next Monday?
If you say so. I can't tell you how wonderful this has been, Mr. Major. You've opened up a whole new world for me.
Oh, that's not bad for openers.
Are you coming, Lisa?
Gary, do you have to be so crude? You're getting grease on my sweatshirt. Come on.
See ya.
Well, there goes the future of America.
I got 40 cents. You want to share a malt?
Do we have to talk?
Hey, what happened to you in there? Did old Dad brainwash you?
Gerard, Just drive me home.
Yes, sirree. We'll go fishing again next week, eh, Benji?
Well, look who's here. Isaac Walton and Company.
Just us, Daddy.
We didn't come back empty-handed, did we, Benji?
No, I got a fish.
Hey, what a whopper.
It weighs more than 3 ounces.
Yeah, pulled it in all by himself, too.
You better take that out to Aunt Livy, and then you go upstairs and get your bath.
Gee, if I take a bath, I won't smell like I've been fishing.
That's what I had in mind.
Come on, Benji.
Well, Abby, what are you doing fishing? I thought you had a warm spot in your heart for worms.
Oh, actually, I was just the chauffeur. Say, Bob, you might be interested to know that your little journalism student and I had adjoining dryers at the beauty parlor yesterday.
Well, what about it? She's been down at the office 4 afternoons now. I think she's catching on.
I'll say she's catching on. I mean, you've really got problems. She goes for you.
Oh, are you serious? She's just a kid.
Yeah? So was Cleopatra when she flipped for Julius Caesar.
Nothing to ignore, Mr. Major. Easier to put out a fire when you know which way the wind's blowing.
Oh, come on now. She just got off a tricycle a few weeks ago.
All she could talk about was her journalism instructor.
Oh, wait a minute. That could be Miss Edwards, her teacher, too.
Does Miss Edwards have baby blue eyes and look like a football player?
Look, all I talked to Miss Sweatshirt about was journalism.
Well, then it must have been your magnetism.
I'm no more magnetic than the average charming, handsome man. You're making a big deal out of nothing.
I went out on a limb for this idea, Mr. Major. Thing like this could embarrass me with the school board.
Don't you realize every kid falls in love with his teacher? I remember falling head over heels for my freshman algebra teacher. But I got over it the next day.
How come?
I found out her grandson sat in the seat next to me.
Well, we'll be running along, Mr. Major.
Well, thanks anyway, but it was nothing.
Mr. Major?
Yeah? Oh, can I help you, son?
It's me. Gary? Lisa's friend?
Oh, Gary. I didn't recognize you with your shoes on. You been to a wedding or something?
No, I just came from school. I miss Lisa. Did she get here yet?
No, Lisa called to say she's coming in later today.
I stopped at her house to pick her up, and she'd already left. Boy, I'll sure be glad when this journalism stuff is over. She doesn't even know I'm around.
Well, you're not exactly easy to ignore, Gary. I guess she's just absorbed in the subject.
But we're supposed to be going steady. I gave her my class ring. That's a valuable ring, you know.
Yeah, those things cost big dough.
And I suppose you know what giving a girl your class ring means.
Till death do us part.
Well, sort of. Or till one of us gets transferred to another school.
You've got a real Robert Browning type romance going there.
Yeah, sure. Well, when Lisa gets here, would you tell her I was looking for her? When she gets here, I mean.
Sure, Jack. When she makes a scene, I'll clue her in.
Hey, you're not making fun of me, are you?
Heavens to Betsy, no.
Well, I'll see you.
Hi.
Hey, look, Ma, no sweatshirt.
Do you like it, Mr. Major?
Very pretty. Very nice. Now, shall we get to work? That's what we're here for, you know.
Of course.
Now, this story that you turned in yesterday, the writing's not bad. But you must remember in every story to tell who, what, where, when, and how. Miss Halliday, do you have something other than journalism on your mind today?
Oh, do you feel it too, Mr. Major?
Do I feel what?
Oh, something wonderful happening. Something exciting. Something I've never felt before.
Well, sometimes journalism can do that to you.
I wasn't talking about that.
I didn't think you were.
Of course, I don't expect you to feel it the way I do. It takes older people longer to react emotionally.
Lisa, by any remote chance, would you be referring to you and me?
Yes, Mr. Major.
Wow, Lisa, isn't that kind of nutty?
Nutty, why?
Well, for one thing, what about your true love, Gary Tucker?
He's just a child. Well, he was all right during my formative years.
I see. And now that you're all of 16, you want the wind and the rain in your hair and all that jazz, huh?
Now, Mr. Major, don't you make fun of me.
Oh, I'm not making fun of you, Lisa. I think you're a very lovely young girl, but you're flying in the wrong direction.
Oh, well, now, if you're worried about the difference in our ages, that's old-fashioned, you know.
Lisa, I have a little touch of rheumatism today. Why don't we forget the station? Why don't you run along?
Whatever you say. Mr. Major.
And why don't you get these nutty ideas out of your head because, well, I don't think you're mature enough to know your own feelings.
Yes, I am. Well, it just may interest you to know I was the top biology student, too.
Look, Icabod, all I can tell you is I didn't realize it.
Too bad it couldn't have been nipped in the bud.
But, Father, how can you control such charm?
Hey, now. Ought to be a law against it.
All right, Wayne and Schuster. Stop giving me the business. Tell me what I can do about this thing.
Afraid it's a little late. Seems Lisa's father's aware of the situation. Supposed to be on his way over here right now.
Not the shotgun bit.
Oh, not exactly. Called the school board about half hour ago. Wasn't there, so I don't know exactly what he said. But Helen at the switchboard said it was the first time in 20 years she's had to pull the plug.
Well, let him come on over. I can't help it if his daughter's a silly teenager.
Oh, well, I wouldn't start off by telling him that.
How do you get out of this infernal contraption?
Same way you got in, sir.
I can do it. I must have been out of my mind to let you pick me up in this piece of junk.
Yes, sir. That's him, sir.
Mr. Major, I came in here to punch you in the nose.
Now, Mr. Halliday.
I see there's a lady present.
Oh, Mr. Halliday, that's all right. That won't bother me at all.
Mr. Halliday, I don't think this situation calls for violence. As head of the school board, I gave full approval to this arrangement.
Oh, you did?
Yeah?
Well, I should have known you were a radical when you let the boys and girls eat together in the cafeteria.
Mr. Halliday, when I came in here the other day, Yes, sir.
Mr. Halliday, this happens to be my office. So if you have something to say, you better use a normal tone of voice, otherwise get out of here.
All right. But I want you to know I resent what you've done to my daughter.
I've done nothing to your daughter. She happens to be a silly, romantic kid, and I've done nothing to encourage her.
Just a case of the moth to the flame. Mr. Major here can't help it if he's loaded with candle power.
Major, all I know, until my daughter started this extracurricular journalism, she was a normal, well-adjusted, empty-headed teenager, all that a father could ask for. Her big thrills came from volleyball. And on the social side, she was completely happy and content going around with this idiot.
Mr. Halliday, I may be your son-in-law someday.
One problem at a time. And now look what's happened to Lisa. No time at all, I got another Camille on my hands. The girl's madly in love with you.
Oh, she just thinks she's in love with me. The minute I realized it, I did everything I could to discourage her.
I still can't figure out what she sees in an elderly man.
Look, Gary, why don't you take that heap of yours and go lay a batch from here to there?
Will you please get out of here? You're just causing trouble.
Yes, sir.
That's a real problem. Her schoolwork's suffering. She just sits around and mopes over you.
Just sensible. There must be some way to solve this problem.
Well, that's all I'm interested in, but, Mr. Major, this meeting's a big disappointment to me.
Oh?
I can't seem to dislike you as much as I want to.
Well, I'm sorry about that if there's anything I can do.
Think there is a way to get Lisa straightened out. Abigail, you went through something like this when you were 16.
As a matter of fact, I did. I was mad about the milkman.
Yeah. You were all homogenized there for a while.
Yes, and then I made the mistake of letting him know how I felt about him. Then he began to take me seriously. Well, I got so scared I ran and hid in the attic.
There you are, Mr. Major. That might be your answer.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I don't like it.
Well, look at it like this. Lisa thinks you're a knight in shining armor. Might discourage her if she finds that your helmet's a little tarnished.
What Father means, Bob, is to do the wolf bit.
Well, now, I'd like to see Lisa get over this crush, but I don't know if I go along with that idea.
Well, I think I could scare her in a very discreet way without hurting her feelings. Why don't I transfer one of my journalism lessons from my office to my home? Say tonight.
Good idea, Mr. Major.
Well, I'll go along with it. But just you remember it's my daughter you're dealing with.
I'll vouch for Mr. Major. He's a completely moral man, thoroughly trustworthy where women are concerned.
Oh, that's right, Mr. Halliday. On that score, I'm a certified square.
All ready for bed, Benji?
I guess so. Why are you dressed like that, Daddy?
Well, like I told you, I'm going to do a little teaching tonight, remember?
My teacher doesn't dress that way.
Well, it's just comfortable.
And why have you got the lamps turned down? My teacher said you should always have good light.
And she's right, too. I'll turn them up. There.
And how come you sent Aunt Livia to watch television so early?
Come on, it's time for you to go to bed. Good night, pal.
Good night, Daddy.
Sleep tight. Good evening.
Good evening.
Something wrong, my dear?
Oh, no. You just look different.
Well, when I'm at home, I'm a little more informal.
I wasn't really sure I'd make it over here tonight, but when I asked Father for the car, he had no objection at all. I guess he realizes I'm growing up.
Good old Dad.
What phase of journalism are we going to discuss tonight, Mr. Major?
Well, why don't we just put journalism aside for a few moments, Lisa? Talk about us.
Oh.
I've been thinking about what you told me at the office, and you're 100% right. After all, it is old-fashioned to let a difference in age stand in the way of anything.
Oh, Mr. Major, I just knew you'd be intelligent about this.
Yes. Like you said, it takes us older folks longer to react. But now I've found something that I've been looking for all my life.
Your pipe?
I mean us. Oh, Lisa. Ours can be a love like Romeo and Juliet, Elizabeth Barrett, Robert Browning.
Elizabeth Taylor and Eddie Fisher?
Them too. Oh, my dear, there's so many things I want to show you. The angry waves breaking over the reef at Maracaibo, the sun setting behind the pyramids.
Yeah, but I have another year of high school to go, and then 4 years of college, and then I want to get my master's in child psychology. If I don't flunk.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Oh, Lisa, think of the years I've wasted.
Well, how are things at the newspaper?
Lisa, you're all I've ever wanted.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, sir. I've always been just fascinated by journalism.
Will you button me up?
Who's that?
The butler. Reggie? This is Lisa.
Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Benji.
What are you teaching tonight, Daddy?
Never you mind, Benji. Now, you run on up to bed. Attaboy. Sorry for the interruption, my dear.
It was a welcome one, Mr. Major. I'm leaving.
What?
Luckily, I found out what kind of person you are.
But, Lisa, what about all we meant to each other?
Well, I know about your kind of man, Mr. Major. I've seen those Rock Hudson pictures. I never want to see you again as long as I live.
Lisa.
I think I'll even give up journalism.
Lisa?
And probably biology, too.
Lisa? Oh, you hound dog, you.
Hi, Mr. Major.
Hi.
We just dropped in to compliment you on your performance last night.
Got the job done, eh?
Apparently. Ran into Mr. Halliday. Said he was happy to report Lisa despises you.
You must have made a fascinating wolf.
Did I? I was right out of the Three Little Pigs. Oh, these teenagers kill me. They're not swooning and screaming over some tone-deaf singer with sideburns. They're flipping over some ape that looks good in a baseball uniform.
Now, that kind of thing's not exactly new, Mr. Major. Tell you something that happened to me when I was Lisa's age.
Father, would you like me to leave the room?
Oh, I guess you're old enough to know, Abigail. I had the wildest crush on Anna Held.
You mean the old-time Ziegfeld star?
Hey, yeah. Saved my money, went down to New York, bought myself a ticket and a pair of them rented opera glasses.
Hey, you went all out.
Yeah. And when Miss Held come out on the stage and sang, I just can't make my eyes behave, I fell right out of my $3 seat.
Well, that's a phase of my life that I missed. I went right from Laurel and Hardy into the Navy.